today here, we've had a bit of a mission today actually, because our model turned up with pretty much purple hair, which looked incredible, but I actually wanted to do lilacs, so it kind of defeated the object of doing my lilac panels. Also, it was quite patchy, not going to lie, no offence. So it was quite patchy. So what I've done, just to start with, is I've used the Blonde Expert bleach powder with a little bit of shampoo and water, and I've just put that on 4 or 5 minutes it was on, and it's just cleaned that totally out. So we're left with a lovely clean base. It's still a little bit uneven in some areas, but we're going to even that out with a nice toner at the end. Yeah, I think we've got quite a nice base to work with. We've left her roots because we're looking for quite a grungy feel today, and I really like, it's like the perfect level of root for me. I think any longer I probably would have bleached a little bit more up, but I think the level it is at the moment, it's going to work really well with the colour technique that we're doing. So, to get started, the idea here is I just want to kind of create a little bit of asymmetry in the hair. So I'm going to have like a panel around the front on one side, and I'm going to be working with the pastel toners, the P11, which is like a really ashy silver, and the P17, which is the lovely lilac. And I'm just going to work through just on one side in those. I'm also going to create a little veil on the top over the parting, and I'm going to bring that quite low around the back of the head, and then what that will do is when it's dropped down, you'll just get a nice veil of lilac sitting over the rest of the blonde. And then the rest of it, I won't do this on camera because it's not very interesting for you guys to watch, but the rest of the colour, just to take out some of the yellow, I'm going to use the P2, which is the pearl in INDOLA, and that's just going to neutralise and give us a really cool ashy tone throughout the rest of the hair. I'm just going to go in now with my sections. Do you always wear it in the middle? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think. So I want the front section to be quite chunky. So I'm just taking it pretty much in a straight line down, and I'm going to section that bit out there. And that's going to be our main panel. And then for my veil, I'm going to have to try and go on my tiptoes for this bit. I just want to see where that section ends and create almost a little diamond shape. If I spin you back around this way. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of going in a triangular section at the top. Just pop your head up. And then I'm going to take that and make another point round the back. Okay, just like that. So all of this section here, I'm going to pretty much do lilac with a few little hints of the silver. And then round the front, I'm going to have a bit of a mixture of both. Just going to check that's even. Just come around this way. Okay. So I'll start with the front panel. Okay, spin you back round. Actually, I'll keep you on your side. That's perfect. So all of this hair that's left is going to be with the P2. So that's going to be a gorgeous, ashy, almost platinum tone. So I'm just going to clip that out of the way. I might actually, looking at it, just add a little bit more into that front panel. So I do want it to be quite punchy. I think the idea here for this one, because we've got 2 models to show you today, here is a little bit more grungy, a bit unusual, and a bit more creative. So My second model is a lot more commercial, more of a beautiful blonde, using the Blonde Expert again for a nice balayage, and we've done a lovely root melt. So we've wanted to show you sort of two options where you can really push the boundaries for here, or keep it nice and soft and neutral the other. Right, so just to go over the colours again, I'm using P17, which is the lilac, and P11, which is silver. So just for here, I'm not going to bother putting it onto the root. Doesn't matter if it touches the root a little bit, it's not going to do anything. But I'm just going to aim for the blonde and down. It's not going to do anything up here because the pastel tones only work on a level, depending on what shade, I'd say from a 7 up. But the lilac in particular needs to be on quite a light base. So I'll go in lilac first. The lilac is literally one of the lightest pastel shades there is. So yeah, you need at least a level 9, I would say, a 9, 10, for you to see any difference with the lilac. I'm just going to put a little bit of paper. You can use foil, whatever. It's just to help keep the skin clean. I always go back over once I've put a foil or paper in as well, just to really make sure that I'm going to get full saturation on the hair. So you want the hair completely covered to get that proper depth of tone. So I'm going to do my next panel. I'm going to do that lilac again, just so it sits on top and it looks thicker. So blending it between my fingers just to make sure I'm getting full saturation of all the hair. Letting it drop, and then I'll go over it with a bit more product. Okay, just going to use a bit of paper again, just to separate. So I'm now going to change colour. So I was going to do, as I come up to the lot where the hair gets longer, I'm going to do more panels of the colour, but where the hair's quite short around the face, around here, I'm just going to do with that all silver. I think that's the idea here. It's very freehand, very creative. It doesn't have to be a set colour technique every single time you do something. Just sort of go with what you've got, work with it. Put another foil, and then just lay it back on, a little bit more colour. Okay, so now we're into the longer hair, we can start putting a bit more panels in. So I'm probably going to have more lilac around the face. A little bit of silver in the middle, and then back to lilac. So if I just separate those two pieces out. And move that to one side. The P11, you would want quite a light base as well for that, because it is quite a soft colour. For any of the other pastel tones, so the P16, which is a like a rosy pink, that one you don't need to go quite as light. That would look lovely on a base 8, or even it will give it a nice hue on a base 7. The same with the P31, which is a gold ash. That's a gorgeous tone if you want like a nice bit of warmth in there. I would say my most used pastel colour is probably the P2, just because I use it to neutralise so much. Creates a gorgeous ashy platinum colour without dropping it too dark. Sometimes ash colours can go really quite murky, whereas the P2 is a really beautiful blonde. which you'll see later. So that's the P17. Just going to go back in with my P11 for this area. Another favourite of mine as well that I've actually started to use a lot more now, because I've definitely noticed in the salon, obviously, a lot of people wanted ash at one point. That was such a huge thing. Everyone wanted ashy balayage, ashy highlights, and that's where I would use my P2 a lot. Whereas now, people are definitely starting to go a lot warmer with their colour choices. And the P28, which is a pearl chocolate, is a really gorgeous warm tone. It sort of gives it a little bit of a peachy tone. But more like a golden peach, not like a creative peach. It's a really gorgeous colour. So if you're wanting to experiment with toners, I'd definitely say try that one. So it's definitely a favourite of mine. So I'm going to go in with P11 for this bit. So when you're using the pastel toners, another thing to note is the level of peroxide to use. So I always use my toners with the colour transformer. You can use it with 2% as well, but I just prefer using the colour transformer because it adds such a gorgeous shine to the hair as well. So the colour transformer, for anyone who doesn't use INDOLA yet, is our hero product because it changes any of your permanent shades into a demi. So you can stock the full INDOLA range of permanent colours, and then you just need one tube of the colour transformer, which is, I'll show you what it looks like, which is this, and you can use that with any of your shades, turn it into a demi, and you haven't got to stock double the stock, which is a freelancer's dream, in my opinion. Right, so that bit's done. I'll put that on just to protect it. So I'm using paper because I don't need to use foil. I tend to use foil obviously when you're highlighting or balayaging if you want the extra lift, but we're not looking for any lift here, so we just need something just to separate those tones. So I'm going to work into my veil now. So I'm going to do the majority of this with the lilac, so it falls over the gorgeous P2 that we're going to do later, but I'm going to do a couple of little streaks of the P11 as well, just to give it a little bit of interest. P17, the lilac, going in first for the little point. So if you wanted to create this veil over someone who had a side parting, that's absolutely fine. You just put their parting in where they normally wear it, and you can create the same look that way. But just be careful that that is where they wear their parting all the time, because obviously it will look different if they then change their parting. You won't get the same effect. Okay, I'm going to go another one of lilac. You can really see as well, while I'm pulling these colours through, how well that the old colour is lifted out by doing that bleach cleanse with the Blonde Expert. It's just given us a really beautiful clean base. And when you see the before pictures, it was very patchy, the colour before. So it's just a really nice way to get a clean result ready for any creative colour that you want to do yourself. Okay, let's pop a little bit of separation. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to start incorporating some of the P11. What I'm actually going to do here is actually do some weaves. I'm going to lift that up. That will be where I do the P11. And then this bit, I'm going to do the P17. And that will just give us a few little streaks of the P11 when it's all dried and straight. You'll be able to see it really well. Okay, so this is where I'm going for P11. And I'll just overlap a bit more product. Little bit of separation. So I'm going to do another layer of the lilac, P17, and then I'm going to go back in with another one where I weave. So this whole section here will be lilac. Right, so next one, this is going to be a weaved section. So, that up. Put it down, have a look. Just going to take a couple of small weaves. Pick that up. Then these two that are left are going to be with the lilac. Separation, and then we'll get our little weaves back. And this will be P11. Layer more product. I'm going to do one more section where I weave it, and then the top little point here is going to stay lilac. So we'll probably just do 2 of the silver. This one will stay lilac. So with your pastel toners, you can leave them to develop anything between 5 and 30 minutes, depending on the level of depth and tone that you want. Also depends on what base you're working with as well. If you're working with someone who's got quite porous hair and it grabs quickly, you don't need to leave it quite as long. I'm probably going to leave this 10-15 minutes, but I'm sort of going to watch it by eye, and as it grabs, I'll decide when it's at the level that I would like and I want. I'm also obviously going to do my P2 toner for the rest of the hair. So while this is developing, I'll get that on and then I'll rinse it all off together. Okay, so this is the P11. And then the last section will be lilac. So all of the hair that's left that you see now is going to be with the P2 toner. So lovely, gorgeous, ashy, platinum colour. And then this veil is just going to sit over the top of that. It's going to be quite deep around the back here, which is going to give you a nice, almost like a strip haze of colour. And then where we've done the front panel around the hairline, we're going to have that nice streak of colour around there as well. So first of all, the one that I was saying was my favourite, the P28. That's this one here. So you can sort of see it's almost like a goldeny, peachy colour. It's really gorgeous. We actually used that at an event called the FHA Inspire on one of the girls, and it was just such a gorgeous peachy, rosy tone. So the colours here that we've used is the P11, this one. So you can see it's more of a sort of a grey silver. The colour that I'm going for, the global colour, is the P2 next to it, which is like an ashy. It will probably be a bit brighter than that, what you see on screen. And then the P17 is the lilac, which is this one here. they're the tones that I've used. They're probably my go-to ones that I use the most out of everything.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. So you can see that beautiful shadow root, and then look at that. I mean, that has just taken all of that yellow out, and then she's got this beautiful kind of veil and little areas of this kind of more violety sort of tone, which looks really nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just change the direction a little bit here of Abbey's hair. So we're just going to take it a little bit further from just a classic middle parting, and we're going to just drag it off of the head a little bit. Now, the key to this is to kind of think about, okay, how do I want this to kind of sit? How far back do we want to go with it? How much drama do we want? Now, I only want it to kind of have a soft kind of dampish root, so I don't need to go too mental with it. So what I'm going to do is just start, again, I'm just going to work with some hairspray and a little bit of water. So we're going to start from here now, because it's only really the hair in front of that we kind of want to redirect. And I'm just going to spray a little bit of water just into the roots. Okay. And sometimes people think, oh my God, you're putting water into something that's been blow dried. And yeah, that is kind of a little bit worrying for some people, but at the same time it is water, so you can dry it in. But it just starts to allow you to get the kind of vibe of where you want to go with it. Okay. The other thing you could do is obviously use like a mousse or something. If I had more time, I would probably mousse it and dry it all properly. But at the moment, just spraying that little bit of water in is just kind of going to start to give me a bit of a vibe. So straight away now, just by putting that in, it adds so much more drama to the colour. Like, look, see what I mean? It like really allows that sort of shadow to hit that kind of, you know, icy blonde, and then still have these beautiful kind of slightly sort of violet tones running through it. So I'm just combing the water in. Okay, that's giving me a bit of a base. I love, did you put that veil in?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Look at that. Can you see that? The veil on the back that Abbey's put in really kind of shines through on that top section there, which is super nice. Okay, so now I'm just going to use again my hairspray. I'm going to separate the hair first, just so that I can get a little bit of a side parting. I want it to have that kind of more classic sort of vibe. So it's almost a little bit sort of old school rock and roll. We're going to use the flexible hairspray. Now with the flexible hairspray, you want to go super tight. So you really want to work it right into the root. And then with the comb, just pull that back right the way through. And then with our trusty cover clips, we're just going to pull that in and secure it. Spray the hairspray really close to the root, get it right the way in there. Combing it back, and then putting your cover clips in just to secure that shape. Okay, so you just want that to kind of set in through there. Now we're going to work into this top section. Spray it right the way into the roots. Got to mind many earrings. I've already nearly pulled 2 of them out, so we'll try and leave a couple in. Okay, so I want to create a little bit of a, not like, you know, like a, what's it called, finger wave, but just a little bit of something through that area there. So we're just using the comb. Pull that forwards a little bit and then get it back high into there. Secure this part. And then this final section, if I can have a little bit more hairspray. We just lock that in behind the ear. And the cover clips. Okay. So that's kind of the foundation of it, kind of just set in. I have one more. You know, and again, I think the key is to not kind of overstress about these type of looks. You know, they're like quite easy to just add a little bit of product, a little bit of water, or you know, your hairspray or your glosses or anything like that, and just kind of put it into your roots and redirect the hair. It then creates this kind of unusual texture because you've got this kind of hazy, soft texture from the back, and then that wet, sort of kind of dragged back look through the front. So again, if you want to kind of just heat some of this up a little bit, you can kind of add a little bit of movement to that if you want. Now what I would normally do at this point is get my hairdryer and heat this up to kind of dry it, because once that's set and dry, that will hold really, really well. So you know, just be aware that that's kind of the norm, but in this instance we're not going to do that. So I'm just using the irons. I'm wrapping the hair around the iron almost like as if it's a tong, and then just clamping a few little pieces. So it will just start to give me this kind of texture, a little bit more undone through there. So we just get a little bit, can you see, just a little bit more going on inside. So just wrap it round almost like a tong. You can clamp it in a little bit, seal the ends, and you just start to create this little bit more interest in it just being straight. Because sometimes you don't want it to be curly, but you just want it to have something, you know. So the irons are really good for that. So they're just wrapping it round almost like a tong, and it just starts to create a little bit of a bend and texture within the hair. See, so it gives us that kind of more hazy feel. Okay, a couple more sections. So you can see that's kind of enough. It doesn't need more than that. All it needed was just something to kind of give it a more broken, dishevelled kind of texture to work with what's happening through the front. That looks great, that colour.
Thanks.
So can you see it's that kind of lived-in texture, which again is super popular pretty much everywhere at the moment. So let's just take these out. So normally we would dry that in, but you can see even now that's kind of stayed just by me you know, using cover clips and a little bit of hairspray. And then the same on this side. Just pop this out. Okay, just my brush and the spray again. So just final little movements now, just to kind of seal it in. Just tucking that in a little bit tighter with my brush. Just letting a few little bits drop out. You know, we want it to be, you know, perfect imperfections. Okay. So just stand back and have a little look at the shape. You can just seal that in a little bit more, giving us that glaze, releasing any texture from the back that you want. Okay, and there you have a much more quick kind of editorial vibe. Sometimes just those little kind of playful mixes of products and textures can just be quite cool, girl, and keeps it very modern and very fresh.
Looks amazing. You know, the dressing's beautiful, but the colour is absolutely amazing. As of when this young lady came in, it was very intensely, like quite purple colour, wasn't it? Very, very violent.
Yeah, it's kind of the colour that I think we were wanted in the first place, which was this kind of icy blonde, which is really nice. Great. Okay, so just a little recap of this look. You know, just working with flexible hairspray, a little bit of water, a couple of cover clips, just seal it in, choose your parting, dry it normally, and then I just used a little bit of the irons just to create a texture here.